À partir d'aujourd'hui, je vais plus traduire pour toi. Je sais que t'es capable de parler français, fait que force-toi un peu, là.
Montréal est comme moi, un exemple. 给我按按肚子吧，再重一点。
Toi et ton amour?
Oh, on est vieux couple. 你从来没有考虑过我的感受。Comment tu as rencontré ton copain?
Sur ces deux rencontres.
Fait que t'es une vraie personne. T'es encore plus belle que sur ta photo. Mais c'est toujours gêné de même?
Avec toi, oui.
Ben, t'es spéciale en tout cas. J'ai jamais rencontré une personne aussi gentille.
我们之间不管有什么事儿，咱都别瞒着对方，行吗？
Je m'attendais pas, tu as une copine?
Alice, c'est pas ma copine, c'est une amie, ça n'a pas rapport.
Et moi? C'est quoi?
On n'a jamais dit qu'on était ensemble, là, c'était pas ça notre deal.
有些事情没有答案，也没有什么对呀错。
Comment il t'a menacé? Hey, t'as peur de mentir, OK? Je comprends, t'as peur. T'as peur de faire face à la réalité, t'as peur de toi parce que t'as honte, mais y a pas de honte à y avoir.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Carolyn Talks. I'm your host, film culture critic, and journalist Carolyn Haynes, and this is the YouTube channel / podcast where I speak to film creatives around the world about their work, the industry, and what inspires them. And today I'm very happy to be joined by writer, director, and producer Xiaodan He to talk about her new feature film, Montreal, Ma Belle, or Montreal, My Beautiful. I'm starring Joan Chen as this mature woman. She's 52 and she's going on this journey of self-exploration and reawakening of her sexuality. I call it a mature coming of age story, you know, because she's now rediscovering who she is as a woman, and also as a queer woman in Montreal, and like she's struggling between culture and obligation and sexuality. So but before we begin talking about that, but thank you so much for joining me today, Xiaodan.
Oh, I'm so happy also, Carolyn. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So before we begin talking about Montreal, Ma Belle, I just want to talk a little bit about your own background. So you're originally from China, and you've actually studied filmmaking in 2 universities in China, which I thought was very interesting. So I wanted to ask you a bit about that because you studied in Beijing and you studied in Yunnan. So I wanted to ask you, what was the what inspired you to become a filmmaker, and what was it about these 2 universities that made you decide, I want to study film, but I want to go to 2 different universities to do it?
Okay, Carolyn, that's good to start with this question because I can clarify the point. Actually, I studied only in one university. As everybody, actually, it's a classical way in China, everywhere. So we have to go to the university when you finish the high school. We don't have, by the way, we don't have a CEGEP like here in Quebec. So after high school, your own choice is go to either university, either you work. So I chose to go to Beijing Film Academy. So that is the own film school, professional film school in the country back at that time, and also I think the biggest one in Asia. Almost all the good directors and actors at that time they came out from this school. So it is a very good school, I should say. I appreciate a lot what I learned, and in that school basically totally inspired me to become a filmmaker after my study. When you mentioned Yunnan, actually Yunnan, I came from Yunnan, but I worked in Yunnan minority film studio after my university. So when I finished my 4 years film production, I went back to Yunnan, my hometown. I worked there in a Yunnan minority film studio for 4 years, and then I immigrated to Canada, Montreal.
So and I think that's interesting because you learned film production, because there's not many institutions globally that actually teaches film production. I know of one in South Korea, that's AFI, that's the Asian Film Institute, where they have a complete program dedicated just to teaching film production. So I want to ask you about that, about having that experience, about learning film production in the Chinese film industry, and how that kind of prepared you to be a director. Because for most producers aren't directors. Most producers are just what I call them, like film facilitators. They're the sous chefs of making a film. They're the one who comes and does everything. But many producers kind of like almost fall into it, and they don't have any actual technical and formal training on how to be a producer. So talk about having that kind of like educational experience of production.
Oh, okay. You are totally right, actually, Carolyn. In that school, it is a 4 years program, and it's a back. We can see that in English. So it's for the diploma you got is back. How you say in English? Baccalaureate?
Bachelor's.
Bachelor's. So what I did, it is film production to become a film producer. But for that program, we learned actually all the factors in the cinema industry. So I remember like seven factors: writing, directing, acting, the sound, and also art direction. And what else of photography for the photography. So we touched all the factors of a filmmaking, but for sure to be a producer we don't go too deep. We don't go very deep in each major. We just learn what it is, and to give us a vision, what this about. And as a producer, good producer, you should really understand each factor. But very quick, actually, after 2 years in this very professional film school, I learned. I found that very after 2 years, what really interested me is creation. It means writing and directing. I like the both. So they both came together to me in the very beginning, at my very young age when I was in school. I like both. So after 2 years, my goal, I should say, I really changed my goal to be a director, to be a creator, a writer, let's say. But for sure, I should finish the school as a producer, and it's fine. I continue to learn some stuff, but some courses I really don't like, and it's not for me. I know that. So that 4 years, I think, gave me a lot, prepare me very stubborn, in a very stubborn way, that filmmaking will become my job, my lifetime job. I feel that very strong calling after 4 years in that school, and the ambience was very good. Except we just learned. We watched so many good movies, and we talk about movies. We learn about all the factors about the filmmaking. So for 4 years, you are totally in a very pure, let's say, ambience about movie. So that I even said that gave me like a dream. I feel I lived in a dream for 4 years, in a big dream, like a film, because all we think about, all we talk about is about movie.
Yeah, and I think that's very important, to kind of have, like, that's also a very rare experience, as we said, like, because many filmmakers don't have that particular type of experience in learning production and immersing in the film industry and the film world from that perspective. And I think for you, because I was reading like your bio and like what you said about your filmmaking kind of philosophy, you kind of use your films to talk not only about underrepresented people, but specifically to talk about women, you know, and how women feel alienated in their own lives. You know, I was looking at your filmography. So like you did a documentary called The Fall of Womenland, which is about the
Moscow.
Moscow people. And I know a little bit about them. They are the only matriarchal ethnic minority in China, and like yeah, they have like polyamorous relationships, and the women kind of rule the house. You know, it's very matriarchal. But then you also did another film called A Touch of Spring, and it's about this woman who I haven't watched it, but I watched the trailer, and from what I get from the trailer is that she feels alienated in her own relationship, in her own life, and she thinks that the way she's going to find herself is if she's able to get pregnant, you know, because she hasn't been able to get it in her marriage. And then I think when I was reading that, and when it was and in watching Montreal, BELLE, I was thinking like Joan Chen's character, Fang Xia, she's the same way. You know, she feels alienated in her own life. You know, she feels very disconnected from everyone and everything around her. And I want us to talk about, and we'll begin talking about the film that way. So talk to me about just like having this as a film philosophy, you know, looking at the life of women through of looking at the world through the eyes of women who feel alienated in their own lives, you know, who feel alienated from everyone around them. Talk to me just a bit about that as a film philosophy.
Oh, okay, thank you, Carolyn. It's very interesting, your observation. Thank you for that. And thank you for paying attention to my other previous works. Because I really believe that each filmmaker, a serious filmmaker, the path is related, and all the work actually has a very inner connection inside. So speaking of the woman's the inside disconnection with outside, I think this comes from first of all, I feel because I'm a minority in China. My father is from the ethnic group named Naxi. So it's a very small group, minority. And my mom is from a majority of Chinese is Han. So
Okay.
most of Chinese are Han people, but there are some very small group, ethnic group. So with that background, my father, because my father is an artist also and an anthropologist. So yeah, so with my mom also. So when I was very young, I was like very curious to listen to their discussion about their work. So I know what their work is focused on the minorities culture. So from very young age, from very far, that interested me already. I found it's a small group, but they have very special culture, special customs, like the Mosul people you mentioned. And my mom studied studies on that culture for a long time. Why I decided to do my first documentary, I chose that topic because that interested me since a long time. So I feel woman from that background, I'm always interested by the represented group in this society, either in China or now in Canada. I immigrant to here, but this vision, this observation is always there as a creator. So as a writer or as a filmmaker, I just I think it's come from like very young age learning or family influence. So I would like to go to do when I have a chance to do artistic work. I would like to look at the less represented group. And for women, I think this is because I'm a woman filmmaker, a woman artist. So woman's life, a woman's destiny, woman's story, and woman's struggles, for me, are always very close to me. I feel very close, very natural to go to explore women's inside world, because I know that very much. It doesn't mean I don't want to treat a man's story, but so far, as you have saw, all my works, except the documentary about my father, all the other movies, the main character is a woman, and about their struggles, about their identity, problem, about their emotional problems, family problems. Yes.
You mentioned something there interesting. I will get into everything you said. Like what you said is so interesting, but like people would say, "Oh, what about the men?" Okay, so the thing is about Montreal, my BELLE, you do give insight into what men are feeling. You know, in the character of in the husband's character. You know, in Xia's husband. And he is Wang Jun, played by John Shu. You know, we see how he's feeling alienated as an immigrant in Montreal. You know, like how he is struggling as a husband, as a father, but also like mainly in his career. Like he's not living the life he thought he would be living in Montreal. So for anyone who thinks like the film is completely female centered, it is, but you're also giving an insight into how men feel, you know, how male immigrants feel and how husbands feel and how like they themselves, their dreams and hopes change, you know, and like they suffer heartbreak. So for anyone who says that you don't do it, I think you do. You know, but the thing is about this film that really fascinates me is like you have Joan Chen, like she's so well known, and like her previous film before this one is Didi, which is a film about a mother and who is also having these struggles with her own children. But this film is strictly about sensuality and sexuality and identity. And I love that this film is about an older woman. She's 52 and she is reawakening her desires, you know, and she's reawakening her desires, and like she's not, oh my god, like am I gay? That's not what this is about. The thing is that she knows, she's always known. But
Absolutely.
the thing is like she's now trying to find the courage to actually take a step into getting into a female relationship. So talk to me about how the idea for this film came to you and why you chose a character who's 52 years old and rather than someone who's younger, you know.
Absolutely, Carolyn. So first question is how this story comes to me. There's two big reasons. If I can summarize, the first reason is after my first fiction, A Touch of Spring, I really had a desire and even a need to do a movie, to film a movie based in Montreal. In this, I called my second hometown because I came here when I was 25. And then
I moved to Canada when I was 26.
Almost the same age. And today, I'm 50. I just got my 50 1 week ago. So, you know, this I never have been living in a city, same city, long time like that, 25 years. Even not in China. In China, I changed very often my cities. So here I said, oh, here become my second hometown, and I really love Montreal, and I appreciate what Montreal have give to me. And for sure, as a filmmaker, I would like to find a story here. So the first desire is to make a movie here, and then I should find a story. What kind of story? And for sure, it's about the immigrant story this time. Again, A Touch of Spring, Li Fang is an immigrant, but she escaped to her hometown. So the film is about her escape in China, in her hometown. And this time, I would like to treat a story of an immigrant here in Montreal. And I know that I would like to find a story about a woman immigrant, a Chinese woman immigrant, because I'm originally a Chinese, so I know better all the sides about Chinese culture or Chinese immigrant life. So, but I think immigrant life is a big word. It comprehends or immigrant life experience. We have no matter what nationalities, origins, if we are immigrant, we share so much common feelings, right?
Yeah.
So this is why this film, I think, is not only to Chinese immigrant, but also to it's about the immigrant life experience. And then a woman, as you mentioned, I don't want to write a story about a young girl, because with my age, I really have something to tell, and I really want to explore the very rich inside world of a woman of middle age. Because first, I think this is relatively rare to be told on the big screen. Most of the characters, woman characters, are young women, even pretty young women. So that is not at all my interest. So I really want to treat a very normal middle-aged woman who is a mother, who is a housewife, and who has no dream. It seems she has no dream. She's like everybody. She's like your neighbor. But inside, she has a lot of things to hide, or she has also desire, especially sexual desire. This is why Joan Chen, I think, why she feels love in this character almost immediately. She told me, because at that age, for a woman at that age, most of people forget about their desire. When we talk about them, it's always very often it's negative, or it's like, life is done. Do you still have chance to realize your dream? Do you still have chance to live love as you want? Do you still have courage to be yourself? All these kind of questions comes out when we talk about a woman of 50s, more than 50s. So this time, I want to really face the desire, especially the sexual desire of a long repressed lesbian woman, middle-aged woman, and a Chinese woman. So when I thought about that, I was very excited, actually. I convinced myself immediately about this combination with middle-aged, repressed Chinese lesbian woman and an immigrant life in Montreal. I want to combine them together, and for sure with the Canadian side in this film, which means Quebecois side, because we are in Quebec. So that means the Western side. So I want to combine the three things together. And that really made me excited. Made me excited. I know I have a lot of things to do and to explore, and to make people learn a lot of things about the Chinese culture, about the Chinese immigrant life, and about the immigration life. Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing with this film is I kind of made a note that it said, like, there's this back and forth between Fang Xia and Camille, played by Charlotte Aubin, and their back and forth isn't about sexual chemistry, because they straight off the bat, they are sexually attracted to each other. Like they said, like Fang Xia, she knows that she's a lesbian. She this is who she's always been. But the back and forth is kind of like it's like a pull, it's like a pull and push. And it's like a repulsion and rejection between Fang Xia wanted to be in connection with who she is sexually and as a person, but she's being repulsed because of the thoughts that she has of her culture. She's thinking of rejection from her family. She's thinking of rejection from her friends. She's thinking of rejection from just her culture, just internally. And I think that's such an interesting way to discuss this decision, because most films, when you talk about someone discovering their sexuality, is like they're kind of like, oh, I don't want to be gay, that kind of thing. Like, this isn't about that. This is about her fighting internally, like who she is culturally as a Chinese woman, and who she is as an immigrant, because she feels she's been in Montreal for 14 years, but she still doesn't feel like she belongs. She speaks French fluently, but she doesn't feel comfortable speaking it. And I think that's such an interesting way to talk about how people can feel alienated in their lives, not only as a queer person, but just like through language, like I know the language, I speak it, I understand, but I just don't feel comfortable speaking it because it doesn't feel like me, because I don't feel like I belong in this space. So talk about working with Joan and getting that aspect of Fang Xia out, because I think that's one of my favorite things about her, where she's just this character who's like, she has all of these capabilities, but she's so afraid to tap into them because she's being told like, your place is being a housewife. Your place is working in the store. Your place is being with the mother. Right? And she has all of these things that she's so capable of. Like technically she speaks 3 languages, Mandarin, French, and English, like you, but she's afraid to tap into what she's capable of. And that ties into her sexuality. Like she's sexually capable of having a relationship with a woman, but she's just like, I'm afraid that I don't belong in this space.
Oh, I like really, I like very much what you just analyzed about Feng Xia's like the dilemma, the dilemma, totally dilemma inside of her, facing the culture burden, actually, maybe unconsciously on her mind. Maybe it's very like down and deep in her that she never actually needed to ask herself. But when she meets Camille, a woman that totally attracted her, as you said, I really did this like in purpose. The 2-person click, right? The 2 women click, and it's naturally attract. Yeah, it's a very natural, beautiful attraction between both of them. But because of Feng Xia's a lot of unconscious or conscious burden inside about the culture, about the social pressure, about the education she got since she was young back to China. So all these things, I think, pumped up to scare her, to stop her to continue. But at the same time, she's so attracted by Camille that she can't help herself to continue to advance to Camille, even she knows the price she should pay, right?
Yeah, they are. And so the thing that I also want to talk about is the relationship between Fang Xia and Joy, her daughter. Like her daughter Joy is they immigrated to Montreal when like 14 years ago. So Joy would have been 4, right? Because she's over 18. She's
4 or 5, yeah.
And you open this film so interestingly. You open this film with Joy and Fang Xia at the clinic, and Fang Xia is getting examined by the doctor, and like Joy is her interpreter. Again, she doesn't need the interpreter because she speaks French, but she's so uncomfortable speaking it that she wants Joy to be her interpreter. And the thing is like you open this film with the most uncomfortable discussion a child could ever have with their parent, where her mom not only talking about menopause with the doctor, but vaginal dryness, and saying that sex with my husband is painful because I'm physically not excited. So I want to talk about that, and because that starts off, that shows us immediately their relationship as a mother and daughter. Where Joy, she's there for her mother, but she's like, I'm at this age where I don't need to know these things about you. I don't need to know these things about my parents' sexual relationship. But it also speaks to like, Joy is kind of frustrated with her mother because she, again, knows what her mom is capable of. And she knows her mom can be so much more than she is. And she's frustrated. She's just like, I know you can speak French. Do it. She's like, if you want to divorce dad, do it. If you want to go study classes, do it. If you want to talk about your past, do it. And she's so frustrated. She's like, so talk to me about that, and like that relationship that Fang Xia has with Joy, and like casting Joan and the actress who plays Joy, and her name is
Pei Yao.
Pei Yao. And so talk to me about them, because their dynamic is really, because interestingly enough, a lot of their scenes are some of the most subtly antagonistic in the film. A lot of their scenes are love, but also kind of like frustration. There's like, I love you, but I'm frustrated with you. And it's interesting that that's where a lot of the frustration in the film comes from, not necessarily from other outside factors, but from their relationship.
Yeah. Carolyn, it's very interesting to hear about that. This is also from my observation from some Chinese immigrant parents and kids, and some friends that told me they feel very like sometimes very not confident with their kids, with their own kids, because there is a gap between them. Because the kids, when they come here very young, or they were born here, they're born here. So they can speak fluently French or English as a local person. They consider themselves as a local person in the school or outside. But when they go back to the home, to the family, they need to face their parents who actually hide themselves from the society, and they didn't integrate to the society as the kids. So naturally, obviously, there is a gap between them under the same roof. And another point I'm sure you'll notice is in this film, actually both sides, they speak different language. The parents keep speaking Chinese because they want to push their kids to learn Chinese, to speak Chinese, which is, I think, the winning of all the Chinese parents. But most of them, they cannot succeed in the end because the children, the kids, they keep speak French and English, and very slowly or fast, they will lose their mother tongue, their Chinese, and in the very end, the parents can do nothing, And I heard of that complaint very often. So the Joy, for me, it's so representative kid because she's like a Quebecoise. At the same time, she's a Chinese young girl. So she's like she gets frustrated because she needs to translate always, and especially in this very, very embarrassing situation. And she's 18 years old, 19. She doesn't want to have this anymore. So she wants to push her mother to face her, to how to say, to become more brave, to live in Montreal. I think absolutely they love each other, and the Joy loves her parents, but at the same time, she's an independent girl. She has her life before her, so she cannot just deal with the parents like a lot of the things that depend on hers. I think it's very natural for a young kid at this stage, at this situation, they will lose their patience with their parents, which is actually one friend watched this movie. She told me, my kid is worse than her. She said, I'm even afraid to talk to her because she said, sometimes I feel like she looked down how to say, at me. And she said, I understand why she looked down at me. If I was her, I will feel the same. This is why she said, it's not easy sometimes as immigrant parents, the relationship, very delicate.
Yeah, it is, because I used to work at a public school here in Toronto, and it was a predominantly Asian school, and like a lot of because the area was predominantly a lot of Asian immigrants, so people from both East Asia, Southeast Asia, and South Asia. So a lot of the students were also like first generation or second generation Chinese and Canadians, right? So I was learning Mandarin for like a little bit when I was in college. So I would talk to the kids about that, and I would tell them, don't ever be afraid to or ashamed to speak Mandarin. I'm like, that's your heritage, that's your culture, and also being able to speak more than one language is cool. you know. And so like I would encourage them I would encourage them about that. I said, don't ever feel ashamed about like your heritage, you know. And so like what you're saying, and then what like Joan and what the characters are going through in the film is like I relate to not only with that experience working at the school, but also my experience as an immigrant myself, coming from the Caribbean, right? You're like you move here, and like it's not easy. Immigrating is an extremely hard experience, and it can take years to adjust, you know, like years.
Very
and like
dangerous, actually, risky experience.
it is. And then you can be here for like decades. Like I've been here going on 17, 18 years, and I still sometimes feel like I don't completely belong, because like and it's not that anything makes you feel like you don't belong, but it's just like it's not your birthplace, you know. And like people who haven't immigrated don't fully understand what that is mentally and emotionally. But you know, when some place is not your birthplace, you, especially if it's a place where you live for. I moved at the age of 26, so I had 2.5 decades of experience living in another country, right? And like that's not something you can shake off and grow on.
This is what we call the root, right, Carolyn? This is why we call it root. We have a root in our birthplace, birth country. That is totally natural. This is why immigrant life experience, as you said, so special. We are a very special group in this earth, and we got a lot of beautiful things. We get new things, but we also lose a lot of things. It comes together. The two sides, they come together. It's a dilemma, and sometimes this is why talking about speaking of this in this film, actually one besides the love story between these two women, the identity seeking, you know, liberty of identity. There's another very important topic is about the dilemma of the immigrant life. I really want to show that on this screen in the details and at the background. I think audience get that.
Yeah. No, and it does come through, because like even right up until the very end, that's what you're talking about, you know, where she has to make the choice. Do I stay or do I go? Will I go? If I go back home, will I even feel like I belong back home? You know, like that's not necessarily the case. And so she has to make the choice of not only accepting living as a lesbian, but also accepting living as a Chinese woman in Quebec. You know, that's a choice she has to make. She has to make this very specific decision. I live here now, so I have to embrace what living here means. And again, I'm always talking about the difference between assimilation and integration. And she's not talking about assimilating. She's talking about fully being present in the space that she's in. You know, she wasn't existing fully in Montreal. She wasn't existing, like she kind of has this mood where she feels, again, like as I said at the beginning, she feels very alienated and disconnected. So she has to make the choice to be connected to the space that she's living in. And as she'll always be an immigrant, but she also make the choice of like saying, I have to be confident existing here. I have to be confident as a woman. I have to be confident as a Chinese woman, as a mother, as a queer woman. I have to be confident as a person existing. And we'll wrap up here. So my last question for you is, and I think in talking about confidence, this film does feature nudity, and I love that it has nude scenes. And I wanted to ask you about, you worked with an intimacy coordinator for this film.
Absolutely. That helps a lot, and I think it's even necessary to work with a coach like that. She helped us a lot, because this is the first time I direct the scenes, the intimacy scenes, scenes like this. For sure, Joan and Charlotte, both of them, they are very professional actresses, and they had already experience to perform this kind of scenes. But again, every time it's a new time, right? Every challenge, it's different also. So, but I'm to be honest, I'm very happy and very satisfied as a director, let's say, to get these scenes very proper and even I think very beautiful scenes like this, and very powerful, I found, because the physical, for me, if I can, I want to explain a little bit about the sexual scenes, the meaning for me, because I think for Fengsha, the character, the liberty of her spiritual, of her soul, comes together with the liberty of her body. Her body is repressed, is controlled by herself, by a lot of things for so long time. And so the body's liberty, the body's liberation is such an important thing in this movie. It comes together with her mind, with her mind liberty, right? So I think this scene is necessary, and Joan got that at the first lecture of the script of the script. So she never doubt that we need to put this kind of scene on the big screen, and she did such a beautiful job and such a beautiful contribution, I should say. Yeah.
No, the film is those shots are, I think, so beautifully shot, and there's like the scene in the cabin where it was like, oh, this is so cinematic because the camera moves from inside to outside of the cabin.
Lots of people talk about that, Carolyn.
And I love how it's framed, because it's almost like a painting, you know. It's almost like how you would have like a painting, and then like the cabin window as a frame of a painting. Right. So I love how that is shot, but there's also two different types of physical intimacy you show in this film. There's the sexual intimacy, but then there's like physical intimacy between women who don't have a sexual relationship, and that's between Fengsha and the masseuse, you know. And it's showing like how
Fengsha and who?
The masseuse, the massage, the woman who massages her. So I think it's interesting that we see Fengsha exploring her sexuality and her feminine body in these two very particular ways. They're similar in that it's other women touching her body, but they're done in two very different ways. One is as a massage, like someone is being gentle with her, like giving her relief from pain and like, you know, massaging her muscles. And then the other one is sexual. You know, and it shows that how women can have these experiences, and like not every experience where a woman is naked with other women is sexual, but they're intimate. You know, there's different types of physical intimacy.
Yeah. And she enjoys that. And I'm very happy you mentioned this. Actually, I put this scene in the very beginning to remind, actually, to give a hint to the audience. Fengsha, actually, she used this situation, use this massage, very normal professional massage. For her, it's her way to get some comfort, to get some comfort, to get some like relief. It's her way. She didn't tell anybody, and even the masseuse, she doesn't know what she's how to say, what she would like to get here. She just enjoys, and it's her way to make herself a little bit comfortable, and without any other ways, right?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because she doesn't get physical comfort from her husband. So the masseuse is the only way she can get physical comfort and release. And like in saying, and it's not that, again, it's not sexual, but this she's like, oh, someone is taking care of me. You know, I am always taking care of other people, but there's someone dedicated just me and taking care of my physical needs and like looking after my body.
Very softly and very carefully, and the woman's touch, let's say, because she's a repressed lesbian, we don't forget about that. So the woman's touch gives her some kind of comfort, absolutely, to give her to replace, you know, what her husband cannot give to her.
We have to wrap up here, but thank you so much, Xiaodan. Is there any last comment you want to make about the film that you would like to say to wrap up?
You mean which scene? I would like
your last thoughts about the film. Like, what is perhaps like something that in making the film that made you think about female identity slightly differently than how you had perhaps thought about it before, or maybe your favorite scene in the film?
Okay, sure. You know, I like very much the scene in a small park between the two women, because I just feel both of them, for the first time, they take off the mask from themselves, and they treat each other very sincerely, in a sincere way. They talk as two friends, because both of them, they have no chance to talk like that to anyone else. It's at that moment, both of them, they are very lonely person. These two persons, they are both of them, they are in a very not easy moment in their life.
Yeah.
So in that park, they have the first real conversation, and very relaxed in the eating the dumpling, and with the sunshine in the summer, small park, very comfy. So I just really like that scene. This is why I put it quite long. I even doubt if the audience has the patience to watch it, but I just really love each dialogue they give to each other, and very sincere their emotion, and Fengsha's expression on her face, such subtle, such you can feel all her different layers when she talk about her kids.
Yeah.
Very sincere as a conversation between two women, I think, and that we have the experience. Women's talk, let's say, it's a woman's talk scene, and we enjoy that. Women usually like to have this conversation with our girlfriends, right? And we can say a lot of things that we don't share with our husband or boyfriend. It's just between the girlfriends. I really like that.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you so much, Xiaodan, and congratulations on the film and its theatrical release, which will be soon. So congrats.
Yes. Thank you, Carolyn, and please, the audience in Toronto, come to support this movie in Lightbox in this weekend, in Saint Valentine's weekend in Lightbox and Paradise Cinema.
Okay, I will be mentioning it on my social media for sure.
Please, Carolyn, and also in Vancouver, we got released in a VIF Center for one whole week for the first week. So the first weekend, it's so important for this movie if it can stay longer in the cinema, in the theater. So just help us to spread the words.
I will. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Have you too. Sorry for this time shorter.
I appreciate every second of it.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.